so much. And that's actually a perfect segue to go into my next question, which was something about you going into a pipe. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about both of your situations, actually.
Okay.
With your dissidence, your inability to accept the machine, your failure to adapt to how things are going to be with the oil companies. Why can't you just sit down and shut up? What's wrong with you? So you don't want to just sit down and shut up and drink the oil?
Should we do this in chronological order?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do it in chronological order.
Okay. The reason that we can't sit down and shut up is because there are children that have died from this. There are elderly people that have died from this. There are people I've known from high school that we believe have died from this. And there hasn't been accountability. There hasn't been accountability by the authorities. There hasn't been accountability at all, and exceptionally the opposite by the company Enbridge. And our local government, our EPA, our DEQ, have been nothing short of cowardice in the way that they've addressed this oil spill. And so
The gag order.
Yeah, our government response to this oil spill was making House Bill 5565. House Bill 5565 it's a state law that echoes on Halliburton law that says that because of the proprietary protection that Halliburton provides, even your doctor, if he believes that you're sick from an oil spill or from fracking, legally has a gag order where he'll be sued if he tells you what the chemical compounds are that's in the toxicity reports in your body. That's how our government responded to
So
the oil spill here.
they can do a toxicity test on you, but they can't tell you what's in there?
Yeah,
Well,
they're not legally obligated to do so, nor will they offer
No,
to.
not even legally obligated. They're legally liable. They can get sued by Halliburton, or they can get sued by Enbridge, or by TransCanada, or whoever it might be.
So they're not allowed to make that correlation at all and admit to it being from the spill. So they're going out of the way to protect Enbridge. So it's just.
And doctors play along with this?
So they have
They
to.
have no choice.
They're forced
there's
to.
always a choice, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
always a
what
choice.
would stop one of them from being like, at the bus stop on Franklin, at 3 p.m. a man with a briefcase will hand you a sheet of paper, and then there's your results. I mean, why? Doctors are supposed to help people.
Well, there are.
This could easily become a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I
so-
was so ready to. Yeah.
So, what I'm going to do is recap my story, and kind of it touches on that.
Yeah, let's stay on topic here.
All right. So our response to the way these things have been treated is we got the opportunity to work with some other individuals and make a group called MyCats, the Michigan Coalition Against Tar Sands.
And DCAT, Detroit Coalition Against Tar Sands.
And in
So throw that out there.
solidarity, yes, absolutely. Two affinity groups that care about what happened here, and we're not a political organization. We're not interested in legislation. We're interested in blockade. We're interested in direct action, and we're interested in making sure that this expansion doesn't happen. So one of the big things with the spill, the line was called 6B. We also have Line 9 that's coming through Michigan. That's part of this giant Enbridge pipeline. So on June 24th, we received information that Line 9 was going to be conjoining with
This June.
on
Okay.
June 24th. It also happened to be my 35th birthday. Line 9 was going to be conjoined with Line 6B, and they were going to be doing the hydro testing and then closing this. There was only one weld left to make in the pipe. They had to weld one piece of pipe, and then they were going to do the hydro testing. So early in the morning, before the workers came, an awesome support team made sure I had enough food for 3 days. We also discussed there were several others that were ready to go in the pipeline with me, but we decided that one person was enough to make this a significant action. And so while we're doing this in Marshall, over in Detroit, another issue called pet coke, which is the residue of tar sands, was being put on the Detroit River. So the DCATs, they did a blockade against the pet coke, and with support, I took a skateboard and went into the already in ground Line 6. pipeline. It was supposed to be untested. There were unfortunately some chemicals in there, but went ahead and went in the pipeline and stayed in the pipeline for 10 hours, effectively shutting down Enbridge Line 6B.
You were in the pipeline for 10 hours?
10 hours.
Did you pee in the pipeline?
Yes, I did, liberally.
How far in did you go?
I don't know for sure how far I went, but I certainly I had fun with it. It goes up and down. It's not just a straight pipe in the ground. They still follow kind of patterns. So there's hills. So there was actually, it's 10 hours in a 36-inch pipe. So I got to the point where I would get up on a hill and I would just kind of try to skateboard down on my hip and see what I could do. So I went back in, I would say anywhere from 200 to 500 feet into the.
How did they know you were in there?
We made it pretty clear. I had a liaison that when they showed up for work, she was just sitting right there and informed them that somebody was in the pipeline and that we're done taking this lying down with what they're doing with the citizens, and we were off and running.
Oh, I bet they were pissed.
The funny thing about being in a pipeline, which I wouldn't encourage too many people to try, because again, there's chemicals in it, which we found out.
We weren't expecting that one.
No, and we weren't. We
it's
did
horrible
not expect it. Yeah. When we uncovered the pipeline, we really expected it to just be. Well, first we didn't expect that we'd be able to get in. We thought that it would be protected much more than it was. When we went up to the pipeline, we did not have to climb, we did not have to cut, we did not have to move a single thing. We walked right up to it, and the only thing that was stopping us from going into the pipeline was a layer of duct tape. So we uncovered the duct tape.
How
What do you mean,
safe
it's
that
like a
is?
strip of duct tape?
It was literally like just duct taped on the cap, okay?
They taped it on?
Yeah, and so basically children or anybody could.
Animals?
Yeah, well, I mean, they would probably be drawn to it, but yeah, that smell was so offensive to every sense. The overwhelming.
Did you have a gas mask in there or anything?
We weren't expecting that with it being a new pipe. I mean, I guess, it's something, I feel like we weren't expecting that. We weren't expecting that to be in there. It's a new pipe. Why would it have chemical?
It's all right. We live, we learn.
Yeah,
I've never gone on a
exactly.
pipeline either.
Right, yeah.
So-
So I guess it's just something we didn't think to research, or...
So why did you finally leave? Was it just because you couldn't deal with it anymore, basically, physically? I mean, 10 hours in a toxic environment is pretty dangerous anyways.
And then really enclosed. It was like 3 feet around, right?
Yeah.
And your pee is in there too now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there's a
And
lot. That's the thing about the skateboard. He can go up and down. There was like 5 miles of pipe, I think, right? So.
Yeah. It was 5 miles in ground, and so there was. They quickly the support. They did everything they could, but there was quite a police presence, and they removed them. And so part of the reason that I agreed to stay in for 10 hours was, there was this chemical, and I didn't know what it was, and so I was breathing in my backpack, counting 3 seconds every breath, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't elevate my heart rate. And so it was actually about 40 minutes before the police started speaking with me. When they did so, I was already to the point where I was breathing in a bag, in my backpack, and I wanted to offer, because I didn't know what they were going to do, and you can hear in the pipeline, you can hear extra well because
The
of
sound's gonna just travel right down that tube.
yeah. And so Enbridge, and I am very happy to mention this about Enbridge, that they were immediately telling the authorities to send attack dogs in there after me to
Send
try
dogs?
and also try to
They had
tase
horse
me.
teams. They had all... Sorry, I'm interrupting.
That's
That's crazy.
I will give our local authorities this. They were very apprehensive to that idea, asking, so what am I supposed to do with an attack dog that might attack me, and then I have to drag a dog and potentially a person out of this pipeline? And so the authorities weren't hearing that, but I did get to hear that conversation with them, not realizing how well I could hear in the pipe.
I wish you had a recorder.
I did have a recorder. Oh no, I'm sorry. I had a cell phone, so kind of a recorder. I had that, and also took pictures trying to capture some of the chemical components and the things I seen in the pipe. However, when I was finally extracted, to finish, I actually made the offer with the police. If they give me till 5 o'clock, I'd come out willingly. If they were not willing to do that, I was going to play cat and mouse with them as much as I possibly could and let them know that I had 3 days worth of food. So they agreed to stay out and let me stay in to shut down the day. So when I was extracted finally from the pipeline at 5 p.m., I did exactly what I said I would. I came out at that time because they honored their end of the bargain. So when I came out, the first thing they did was say that they were going to decontaminate me. They took all the sample shots, everything that I had with me. I took that. They took my clothes. They poured a fire hose on my head for 5 minutes, and then put me in holding 36 hours with orange substance all over my body. And when I was released the next day, they told support that I was getting released at a different time, and then released me in all I had was a pair of hospital gown pants. And they didn't. To this day, I still have not gotten any of my clothes or anything back.
They confiscated all your stuff.
Yes.
Everything, even my boxers.
Probably because
The only
could
thing
be
that made it
used
was that
to-
bracelet.
Yeah,
That
this
was
bracelet
from
was
when
the
I
only
went.
thing
Yeah,
I got to get
Occupy
back.
Sandy. Brooklyn strong. Sorry.
And I wanna echo this out too. I think this is something that gets overlooked in these stories a lot, and that's about support. One of the happiest moments I've ever had in my entire life was the day of the pipeline, but it wasn't necessarily the pipeline. It was knowing that people were arguing at the hospital to be able to come back and see me, and know that they were arguing throughout the day to just try to find out that I was okay. And even though they were told not to, when the police escorted me from this hospital to take me to jail, they were all there singing "Happy Birthday," and
That's awesome.
yeah, I take
Wow,
that with me
great
for
story,
the
man.
rest of my life. Yeah. So, and my discovery hearing is on August 27th, and I'm going to go ahead and just let the whole world know that there will be no settlement. This is going to trial, and I'm going to do whatever defense works in that, but there's no settling with this. I'm not guilty of anything except for, and with any of us that are in tar sands blockades, whether it's here or down in Texas or Oklahoma, anywhere, all we're guilty of is wanting to see our children have a future. So they
Word.
can kiss my ass on a settlement.
Kiss.
That's that action. And then of course my cats stayed very active, so we had more people on the blockade, and so I will yield now.
Thank you. It's so cool. So, you weren't in a tube.
No.
You were on a machine.
Yeah. Well, I just want to point something else out that's really cool about his
Yeah.
action. It's going to kind of segue into this. The Fearless Summer. This was launched this past June, and
On
actually,
June 24th.
Yeah, June 24th. And well, that was a week. They called for a week of action with that, but it's a whole, of course, it's a campaign that's still in effect. But during Chris, and I was with that action with Chris as well. But during that action, simultaneously, DCATS had a very successful pet coke blockade. And what pet coke is it's a byproduct of tar sands, and they're taking it and they're dumping it all along the river in Detroit in like really impoverished neighborhoods, which pretty much is Detroit, right? So, but I mean, especially in those neighborhoods, and because who's going to stick up for these people? Who's going to defend, this kind of. What I look at is to be environmental racism and class, and all that. It's so there's so many other ways that environmentally this is, an issue. But they blockaded and they successfully stopped the trucks from dumping. At the same time, Chris was occupying 6B. So the movement, like I'm getting chills right now because with all the drama that comes with an action like this and all the worry, and I was worried about Chris because we had gotten separated. I was his direct support, and I was really scared. He has no sense of smell. And so I knew that he wouldn't, until he felt sick, he wouldn't realize what kind of environment he was really in. So it was a lot of stress, but then hearing the solidarity, and on the same day in Oklahoma, the Great Plains Tar Sands Resistance had an action, the DCATS had an action, we had an action, and it was very successful. You have goals out of an action, and these people were attaining and reaching their goals, and we were doing it all together at the same time, getting updates, and it was it's so empowering to have an aggressive campaign like that and have people really be in solidarity together all over the country, So, and in my cats kind of took it further, and instead of that week that they called for Fearless Summer, they are doing a Fearless Summer indeed. And I want to also say it's also in solidarity with Summer of Sovereignty, Idle No More, those types of things. So the second action that I was a part of was in Stockbridge, Michigan. And where they're also, this is all for 6B. So the aggressive, my cat specifically is taking a very targeted approach at 6B, right? So there were 4 of us that locked on. There were 11 arrested in total. The cops came in right away, just started taking people to jail. And so, but of course we had lock boxes. There were 2 teams that deployed for locking onto equipment so that Enbridge could not work for the day. And of course the other goal of this action is raising awareness, right? Like you said, you're in Arkansas, you don't even know about the largest inland oil spill in your country, you know what I mean? And then the whole Mayflower thing, I know about that, you know what I mean? But what the hell, so this needs to be happening. So anyway, as goals of the action, we had a 59-year-old mother, a grandmother lock on. I am a 35-year-old mother, and 2 22-year-old. And I bring the age up because I think it really it really says something to me when grandmothers are locking on to things, when mothers are putting themselves out there. And it means something to me that everybody does it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that, but I think it sends a statement that all across the board, you're doing it wrong. So, Enbridge, for doing it wrong. So, so we decided, specifically my friend Barb from Occupy Detroit and DCATS, we had to be locked on with 2 lock boxes. And we all decided, and they had to be locked up because it was like I can't think of the crane thing. Barb was so skinny that we were afraid she'd slip by. So we had to go on with 2 boxes anyway. And then they had one through the tread over down there. But it was just
But
very...
you're talking about the Barb that's been here.
Yeah,
the whole
yes,
time.
yeah.
She locked herself onto something.
She and I were locked on together. We locked, to wrap ourselves around the equipment so they can't use it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
She was like the second person that we met when we pulled in the parking lot.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. She's
The
amazing.
grandmother that locked down has been here for the weekend
Vicky
as well.
too. Yeah, and then there's one more person. Will, but he's not here. But so it's really cool. Kind of a little reunion-ish type thing going on here for us too, which is fantastic. It's really when you do something like that together, it kind of brings a bond upon each other that's just like wow, But anyway, so we had this action, and then we had we had soft blockade, hard blockade, and that's just we had protesters on the side, and we made sure signs, and it was a successful action in the fact that we did the goal, we reached the goals we wanted to. We it was really good media in it too, and I mean that's an important thing. People have a lot of confusion. They're like, "Oh, you're doing it for the PR." Well, yeah, we're spreading awareness. That's kind of the point. And I don't mean to be condescending in that, but I mean, I've definitely had other ways have come at me from an outside perspective of people who don't quite get it.
These people are narcissists probably, so
right.
It's the pot calling the kettle black, but you're more than just black.
Right.
I don't know if that metaphor makes sense.
No.
They're only seeing 1 inch of the football field.
Absolutely.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I get you.
Right. So that. And in going forward, 4 of us were charged with resisting and obstructing, which is a felony crime. They did tell us they would be if they found out we could unlock. They didn't know. They didn't know what to do. They deployed a microscopic camera and down the sleeve of one of the lock boxes, and saw that we could unlock, and found that out. And they said, if you don't unlock, we're going to charge you with felonies. But we wanted to stop work today. That we decided that we're just going to go through all that and unlock. We stood true to our words. And even though the cops came and lied to us and lied to the other teams trying to say, oh, Vicky, she's a grandma, she just couldn't take it, they unlocked, trying to get us to unlock.
That?
Oh, hell yeah, they did. Hell yeah, they did there were all kinds of, and I'm smiling, but I shouldn't be, because you know what, that was actually pretty shitty. On one end, it was 2 ends of the work site we were on. And on one end, the cops had to behave because there was a lot of media, so they didn't want to look, but on the other end, they were treated very, very poorly because there was all the support for the other side, all the ground support had been taken to jail or pushed away. So there's a lot of aspects of how they did. But yeah, that was one of the tactics. But, we have our own tactics too. So
Pretty messed up.
it is really messed up. It is super, super messed up. But we all held true to our word. The most common way to get out of a lockbox when people lockbox onto things is to unlock. And we all decided, no, we are making this stand. We are not. We shall not be moved until you physically have to get saws and deploy teams from wherever you have to get us out, and which is what they had to do. So there's some ego going on in this too, where they're really pissed at us, because we didn't do what they said. So they came after us. The 4 people charged with misdemeanor trespassing and then felony resisting and obstructing, which falls in the same line and the same punishment as assaulting an officer. So it's pretty ridiculous in my aspect of things. Fine, Enbridge, assault our mother. No big deal. Fine, Enbridge, push eminent domain on people and assault their land and the land. I mean, give me an effing break it. You know what I mean? Like, what? So we're fighting it. I think people, I don't know where everyone stands on settling and that kind of a thing. There's a lot of definitely specific issues for people, for me, because I am I have a history, a little more, unfortunately, punishment that I could be facing. But we definitely have a petition online that's going around on change.org, and we are also calling for people to protest at the courthouse, and this is in Mason. Yeah, this is Mason.
County.
Mason County, or Ingham County. I'm sorry.
Yep.
It's Ingham County. Yeah. So, in Ingham County on Thursday, I have court. So after we do all this, we'll be doing that. So we'll see how it goes. We have representation from the NLG. John Royal himself, who's been around for quite a while, has come personally from Detroit and talked to us, and so we've got a good little team going there as far as that's concerned. But
and with that action too, we've mentioned the felony arrest, but as mentioned, there were some people that were arrested. There were also 11 misdemeanor arrests.
Well, it was 11 total. So.
I'm sorry. So 7 others.
Yeah.
So, all right.
7. Yeah, just a clarification.
Yep. No.
So they arrested everybody.
Well, there were 40 people, 30 to 40 people at this.
Oh, okay.
See, my cats had a direct action camp before that, actually on a landowner's land that had been forced eminent domain upon them. And to take it a step further, the only ones in that county that ever fought back, and then the next step after you don't accept the eminent domain and do what they tell you, then they condemn your land and make it so that they can put that pipe in. That's how that works. So we spent the weekend doing this direct action campaign on their land. They hosted 50 strangers. Okay, 50 strangers here now, because they're, as homeowners, feeling the empowerment too. And they've been activists against this. They have done what they can. There's a really sad story that's behind it, but there's a lot of sad stories behind tar sands. That's the fucking point. And there are viable solutions and more sustainable solutions. And I don't have the answers for everything, but I know that we are come far enough that we can get that far too in solving a lot of these issues that are. I wouldn't tolerate the rape of my mother, and I won't tolerate the rape of our mother. And that's where I stand for that. No mas. No more. No 6B.
Right on. Cool. Wow. Well, thanks so much for sharing with everybody.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
post these things around. I'll tell you about it. So
Yeah.
these are our organizers here at Kalamazoo. So if you were wondering why Kalamazoo, that's why Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh man, you gotta post.